By special request, I am here today to talk about some modern mysteries to help you beat that summer heat. I have 10 mysteries, all published within the past 20 years, that I think make for great summer reading. Plus, stay tuned to the end because I have 2 bonus picks that you won't want to miss. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome back to my reading life, and welcome to a much requested video by all of you. And that is for me to share some modern mysteries that are great for summer reading. So today I have 10 mysteries to share with you. All of these were published in the past 20 years. Does that constitute a modern novel? I think it does. I think if it was published in the 2000s, that is relatively modern. I'm going to go through these in order of publication date from oldest to newest, and then stay tuned to the end because I have 2 books that I'm going to share that are a little bit outside the parameters of what I'm talking about here today, but I want to recommend them to you anyway. First up is a book that is the first in a series, a 6-book series that I first discovered about 10 years ago, but was originally published in 2007. It is fun, it is fast-paced, and it centers around a family, which I just think was an added element that I really enjoyed. Also, for me personally, it is set in San Francisco, and I love to read books that are set local to where I live, and this one is such a fun series. I never hear it talked about, and I think some of you might enjoy it as well, and that is The Spellman Files by Lisa Lutz. This is about a family of private investigators. The parents are private investigators. The older children are private investigators. There is a younger daughter who has taken it upon herself to become a private investigator, even though she's really too young to have a license. She's still in school. Our main character in this is Izzy Spellman, and Izzy is a bit of a mess. And while she is working for her family's investigation business, she really wants to get out of it. But she has to do one last job for them before she can do that. And so that is what this first book is about. I just think these books are fun. They are incredibly pacey. There is lots of humor in them. They aren't particularly dark. I don't think there's anything particularly graphic in them, at least not that I can recall, but again, always check for yourself on these things because everybody's sensitive to different subjects. I just thought these were a lot of fun, and it's actually a series I want to reread because it's been quite a while. I have actually listened to the first book on audio, and I do recommend the audiobooks for these, but I think if you're looking for something that is just a lot of fun, she's sort of a funnier version of Kinsey Milhone from the Sue Grafton mysteries. So if that sounds good to you, definitely give the Spellman Files a read this summer. We are skipping ahead a few years in publication date and heading to 2014, though the setting for this particular book is actually the 1930s. And this is another first book in a mystery series, and that is Murder at the Brightwell by Ashley Weaver. This is the first of the Amory Ames mystery series, and I read this book while I was on vacation sitting on the beach, and it was absolutely perfect. So if you're looking for a mystery to take with you on vacation, I definitely recommend giving this one a try. Now, there are a couple of caveats I'm going to give before I tell you the synopsis of the book, and that is that I do think this first book has a little bit of sort of first novel bumps in the road that could have been a little bit better executed, but I have read further on into the series, and I do think this is a series that gains momentum as it goes along. So keep that in mind. But this first one is perfect for summer reading. It's very light. We get to know Amory Ames. She has a husband who is a bit of a playboy. And so Amory heads off with actually her former fiance. They head off to the Brightwell Hotel. She is going to try to help him stop his sister's marriage because he does not approve of the man that her sister is about to marry. And then said man gets murdered. And so Amory gets involved in solving this murder, and that is the plot of the first book. And then her husband shows up a little bit through the book as well, so that sort of further complicates things in her personal life. And I just found this to be really fun. I liked all the period details. I liked the hotel setting. I think that's always fun for a summer mystery. If you think of things like Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun or a Caribbean mystery, that just kind of evokes summertime to me. Just a group of people staying at a hotel and there is a murder or a mystery of some sort and our protagonist has to solve that. So if that sounds good to you, you want to head back to 1930s hotel setting in the summertime, then give Murder at Brightwell a read. For our next mystery, we are going to head off to Australia. This book was first published in 2017 and was a huge hit when it first came out. It is the start of what turns out to be a series. I think there are 4 books so far in the series, but this first one is perfect summer reading, and that is The Dry by Jane Harper. This is the first in the Aaron Falk mystery series. Aaron Falk is a federal agent in Australia, and he ends up going back to his hometown. He hasn't been there in 20 years since he first left, and then he finds out that his best friend has died and his entire family has died, the best friend's family. And so Aaron still doesn't really want to go back home. There's a lot of history for him personally with his own family, but then he gets this note, and the note says, "Luke lied, you lied, be at the funeral." And so Aaron decides to go back for Luke's funeral, and then he gets embroiled in what is going on and what has happened to Luke and his family. And Aaron has his own complications, as I said, with his own family. This is such a wonderful mystery. It has such a sense of place. The dryness of Australia and just the heat and how oppressive that is. It is almost like it's its own character in this book. It's incredibly well done. I absolutely loved this book. Couldn't put it down when I read it the first time. And I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a summer read, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, if you're in Australia and you have not yet read The Dry and it is wintertime there, then I think this would also be a book to make you feel warm, because it really does evoke that heat of summertime. And I think the mystery in this is really twisty and the resolution was excellent. The Dry is wonderful and I highly recommend it for a page-turning summer read. The next mystery I want to recommend was published in 2018, but this is actually going to take us back to Bombay, India in 1921, and that is The Widows of Malabar Hill by Sujata Massey. And this is such a fun start to this mystery series, which I believe has 5 books to date. In this, we are following Perveen Mystery. She is one of the very first female lawyers in India. She has joined her father's law firm after graduating from Oxford, and she is back, and her father's firm has taken on a case of a wealthy man who has died, and in his will, he has left his money and estate and everything to his 3 wives. But the 3 wives have assigned over their portion of their inheritance all to charity. And this seems very, very strange. Now, these widows live in what's called purdah, which means that they live in complete seclusion. So they don't see any other men, they don't come out in public, they're very hidden away. And so Perveen is tasked with going to meet with them because they can only meet with other women. And so she does so, and she's trying to figure out, are they being coerced in some way? Is somebody behind the scenes kind of pulling the strings and making this happen? Because how are these widows going to survive if they don't take their inheritance? And then it really kind of ratchets up the tension because there is a murder. And so Praveen knows there is something not right going on at this house in Malabar Hill, and she has to figure out what's happening. I was just completely drawn into this world. I thought Sujata Massey did a fantastic job of recreating 1920s Bombay, and I, as I have mentioned before, really love novels, mysteries, anything set in India, especially in the early part of the 20th century. So this book was just right in my wheelhouse. This one is wonderful. If you're looking for a book set in India, then I definitely recommend The Widows of Malabar Hill. Next up is a mystery that was published in 2019, and I think this is such an underrated book. I never hear people talking about it, and even when I read it, the reviews of it were kind of lukewarm, but I absolutely loved this. And that book is American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. This book is set in the 1980s, and we are following Marie Mitchell. She is a spy who works for the CIA, and she is a Black woman, and so she's very much on the outskirts. She is not part of the old boys club that the CIA is at this moment in time. The story moves back and forth in time. We go from following Marie in motherhood back to her childhood and kind of everything in between. We learn how she joined the FBI and then the CIA. And then we learn how she became involved in the political instability that is happening in Burkina Faso, which is the main focus of the book. When I read this, I really felt that the struggles of a Black female spy in the 1980s was a story that hadn't been told before. And I felt like Lauren Wilkinson was really tapping into something very unique with this book. I loved the settings that took us from both America to Burkina Faso to the island of Martinique. And I just thought this was such a unique concept for a story. And I was riveted from the first page. Now, a lot of the reviews of this say that it is slow going or a slow burn. I didn't find it to be that way. I found it to be such a page turner. So again, this may not be a book that's for everyone, but if that sounds intriguing to you, I would definitely give this one a read. Now, I will say the ending of this is not going to wrap up neatly, all tied with a pretty little bow. So there might be some pieces of it that leave you wondering or have you thinking. But I actually feel like, for me personally, that made this an even stronger book. And I really need to see what else Lauren Wilkinson has written, because I really, really enjoyed this. I think it is interesting and unique, and I don't think I've ever read another book quite like it. Another mystery that was published in 2019, and this is part of a series, though this is the only book in this series that I have read, and it is not the first book. And so I think you can read these out of order. I don't think it really matters. I was a little trepidatious going into this one, to be honest, because it features the queen of crime herself as the main character. So Agatha Christie is the sleuth in this mystery series. And the book that I'm recommending here is Death in a Desert Land by Andrew Wilson. Now, like I said, I was a bit trepidatious going into this, but I actually think Wilson did a pretty good job of characterizing Agatha Christie. And that is very hard to do because she is almost a larger than life persona. But I think the mystery in this and the setting of it, for me, also really helped me enjoy this. And it also features another real life person, Gertrude Bell. So in this, we are following Agatha Christie. She has been asked by the British government to head to Baghdad to a dig site and to look into the death of Gertrude Bell. Gertrude Bell was a real woman, and she is sort of considered to be the female Lawrence of Arabia. And actually, this book led me down a path of reading a nonfiction biography about Gertrude Bell. I think it's called The Sahara Queen or Desert Queen. The Desert Queen. I'll put a picture of it here so you can see that book as well. I highly recommend it if you're curious about Gertrude Bell and want to learn more about her. Her life was fascinating. Once Christie arrives in Baghdad, she thinks that there's something stir going on. Does it have to do with Gertrude Bell's death? Is there something else happening here? And you have to follow along and find out what happens. I will say I figured out who done it, but I was just enjoying the story and particularly the setting and just getting to see kind of Agatha Christie in action as a sleuth that it didn't really bother me that I figured it out before the reveal happened. I definitely want to read the other 3 books in the series. This is book 3. And again, I think you can read them out of order. I did. I didn't feel like I was missing anything necessarily. But this one in particular makes for a great summer read. I can't speak to the other books in the series. They might also be good summer reads as well. But if you're looking for something that features the Queen of Crime, solving crime, then give Death in a Desert Land a read. Next up is another mystery that was also published in 2019, is also part of a series, and this is truly one of my most beloved mystery series. And actually I have 2 books from this series that I think make for great summer reads. Though really, I think any of the books in this series are good summer reading, and I do think you should read this series in order. So I'm actually recommending the 6th book in the series, but if you've never read it, start back with book 1. They're such fun, light, cozy adjacent mysteries, and I cannot recommend them enough, particularly on audio. Elizabeth Nolden is the narrator, and she is fantastic. But the mystery that I'm recommending today is Death by the Seaside by T.E. Kinsey. As I said, this is the 6th book in the Lady Hardcastle mystery series. These mysteries are set in the early 1900s in England, and we follow Lady Hardcastle and her sidekick slash lady's maid slash friend Flo. And in this entry, they are off on a holiday at the seaside, as the title indicates. They're staying at a hotel, and the hotel manager is freaking out because a very important scientist for the British government has gone missing. So Lady Hardcastle and Flo get involved in trying to solve the mystery, and then their number 1 suspect ends up dead. And so they have to figure out what's going on, and Lady Hardcastle's brother is involved with, I think, MI6 or MI5, one of the 2, and he works for the British government, and so he comes into the picture in this mystery as well, so we kind of get their brother-sister dynamic, which is fun in this one. But the seaside setting, again, another setting at a hotel. I just think hotels make for great summer mysteries as a setting, don't they? Especially when they're at the seaside, and this one is. I also recommend the most recent Lady Hardcastle mystery that just came out, which is Murder on the Rocks, also set on a holiday. This time, Lady Hardcastle and Flo have gone to an island, and this island is owned by this very wealthy man that they have gotten to know and become friendly with, and he's invited a few friends of his to this hotel island that he has created, which is going to be open to visitors, but he's kind of like testing it out with his friends. And then, of course, there are some deaths, and Lady Hardcastle and Flo get involved. So again, another just kind of a fun hotel setting set on an island. It's got kind of almost "And Then There Were None" vibes to it, though it's not at all that story. It's completely different. But any time spent with Lady Hardcastle and Flo is a good time in my book. You can't go wrong with any of these mysteries. But both Death by the Seaside and Murder on the Rocks, if you are at either of those places in this series, then definitely give those books a read this summer. Next up is a mystery that was first published in 2020, and this is actually set in modern times, though it does have a little bit of flashback to, I believe, the 1990s. And while this one is actually kind of set at the end of spring mostly, I do think it makes for a great summer read because it is so propulsive. And in the summertime, I am really looking for page turners, for books that are just going to kind of suck me in and not let go of me until I turn the last page. And this book and this series in particular do that. And that is The Mountains Wild by Sarah Stewart Taylor. I love this series. This is the first book. This is the Maggie Darcy mystery series. And Maggie Darcy is a police officer, a detective with the New Jersey police. And she is of Irish descent. And back in the 90s, her cousin went missing in Ireland. And at the time, Maggie went to Ireland and, kind of was trying to figure out what was going on. And now all of a sudden they have found another woman has gone missing under very similar circumstances. And this sort of reopens Maggie's cousin's case. And Maggie heads back to Ireland to see if she can, one, help out with the current investigation, and two, find out finally what happened to her cousin. This is, again, such a strong start to this mystery series, and I loved Maggie as a character. She is just really lovely, and while she has some flaws, she's not so damaged as some police detectives that you will find in police procedural type mysteries. So I really liked that about her. She's got strong family connections. She has a teenage daughter, and it's just really a lovely series. I believe there are 4 books in this series. I have read them all, love them all. Wish there was more. I hope that Sarah Stewart Taylor writes more in this series, though I'm not sure if she has plans to, but definitely recommend this one. And The Mountains Wild is fantastic. Next up is a book that was published in 2021, and this is what I would classify as a literary thriller. Now, hear me out on this, but first let me tell you the title. The book is Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. But don't let what I said, that this is a literary thriller, put you off. It is not a thriller in any way graphic or gory. It's really more about how twisty and turny and what is going on here. Can we trust our narrator? Do we have an unreliable narrator situation? What exactly is going to play out here? And I just found this to be such an engaging read. We're following Florence. She works for a publisher and she's got a very low level job, but she ends up getting a job as an assistant to an author who is kind of like a bit of a recluse. She's very mysterious. Nobody knows who she really is. That is Maud Dixon. So Florence goes to work for her, and they end up heading off to Morocco, which is the setting for Maud Dixon's latest book that she is writing. Florence is really taken with Maud, with her life, and while in Morocco, however, there is a car accident, and Florence wakes up in the hospital, and she doesn't know what has happened to her. And Maud is nowhere to be found. And so Florence thinks, what if she upgraded her life to Maud's life? And we go from there. This is just such a good, well-written thriller style book that is so summery in its feel. You will be caught up in the different twists and turns. I figured out some of the twists that were happening and some of them I did not. And while it does have a bit of a slow build to it, just give it a little bit of time, because I promise you, you will just whip through the last part of this book. It gets very exciting towards the end. And if you're looking for something that feels a little bit more literary in tone and style, then I definitely recommend giving Who is Maud Dixon a read. Next up is a book by an author that is probably familiar to most of you. He has written a mystery series, which I also definitely recommend and would make for great summer reading. But this book that I'm going to recommend by him is the start of another series, and that is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. Many of you have probably read or are familiar with the Thursday Murder Club, which I definitely recommend. That is a series that gets better as it goes. I liked the first book. I really liked the second book. By the time I got to book 4, I just loved it. I was in it the whole way. So definitely, if you give the Thursday Murder Club a read, give it some time. If the first book isn't completely perfect for you, it does get better as it goes. I definitely recommend it. It makes for great summer reading, as does We Solve Murders. I kind of classify this along the same lines as the Spellman Files, which was the first book I recommended in this video. It's got that same kind of drive to it. It's very propulsive. It's got short chapters. It's funny. It's got characters who are a bit on the quirky side. So if that is something something that sounds good to you, then definitely give this one a read. We are following Steve and Amy. They are a father and daughter-in-law duo, which is just kind of a unique pairing, and I really liked the idea of this. And Amy is a bodyguard of sorts, and she is taking care of this very famous author. I kind of feel like she reminded me a bit of maybe like a Danielle Steele or something like that. Like, she's written lots of books and she's very famous. But this author, I believe, has had some maybe death threats against her, and so Amy is there to make sure that she stays alive. They're on this private remote island, and then Steve, her father-in-law, who I believe is a former detective or police officer, he's retired now, but Amy he ends up getting involved for reasons that you find out as the book goes along, and the two of them have to try to keep this woman alive and figure out who's trying to kill her and what is going on, and it is just a lot of fun. I believe the second book in this series is supposed to be coming out. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and see if there's a publication date for it. The last time I looked, there wasn't one, but it's supposed to be out this year, and I will definitely be reading it. I just think when you need sort of a palate cleanser, something really light, if you're going to be maybe traveling somewhere and you need a book to take with you on the go, this would be a perfect book for traveling with. It's just a lot of fun, and I really like the characters, and I'm very curious to see where it goes next. But I definitely recommend We Solve Murders or The Thursday Murder Club if you've never read that one. But Richard Osman, he's having a moment right now, and I am here for it. Those are my 10 modern novels that I recommend for beating the heat this summertime. But I do have 2 bonus books that I want to share with you. One is a book that just came out last year, and I am actually in the middle of reading. So I haven't finished it yet, but I am enjoying it so much, and I wanted to mention it to you all here. That book is Mrs. Spy by M.J. Robotham. The publisher did gift me a copy of this book, but all of the opinions about it are my own. I am really enjoying this. In this, we're in 1960s London, and our main character, Maggie Flynn, is a spy. She is also the mother of a Beatles-obsessed teenage daughter, and they live with Maggie's mother, who they don't call Mom and Grandma. She doesn't want to be called by those names because she's quite eccentric, and I think she still feels very young and not like a mother or grandmother. But we're following Maggie. Maggie's husband has died before the book starts, and we kind of learn things about her husband as Maggie has learned things about him that maybe he wasn't the man she thought he was. And she is part of this watcher group of MI5. Basically, they follow people around who are potentially suspicious. This is during the Cold War, so lots of Russians and, Eastern Europeans, and they're just there to watch them and see what they're up to. And she gets asked to do a sort of babysitting job where she needs to go and wait. There's a spy or somebody who is a Russian fugitive or something, and he is in a safe house, and she just needs to go there to babysit him. And while she's there watching this man, he tells her a story, and something about it makes her think that maybe he met her husband. And so that is setting off a chain of events in what is happening in the book. And that's about as far as I've gotten so far, and I'm about a third of the way through. I'm very much enjoying the writing style. I think it's got a good pace to it. I'm really getting invested in Maggie as a character now, so I have high hopes for this one. And the second book in this series is coming out in July, so I'm really excited to finish this and then move on to book 2. So if that sounds good to you, then definitely give Mrs. Spy a read. I was wondering if maybe it would kind of have Mrs. Polifax vibes to it, but it's different than that. Maggie's a very different character and has a very different life. So, but I definitely am finding this very readable, and I'm enjoying it so much. And thank you to Bloomsbury for the gifted copy. Next up is a book I want to recommend, even though it was written much earlier than 20 years ago, and this was published back in 1988. And it's been a while since I have read this, but it is high on my want to reread list because this is such a great read. And that is The Eight by Catherine Neville. This is really complex. It takes you all over the world. It goes back and forth from the 1970s to the 1700s, and it is just complicated. We have like secret societies, we have a computer expert, we've got chess involved. There is so much going on in this book. And really, it's this chess set that is kind of propelling the plot along. And you kind of follow the origins of this chess set and where it is now. And it's just kind of important that it gets found by the right people, not the wrong people. And you find out why as you read this. But this was such a fantastic read. I think it makes for a great summer reading experience. I read it for the very first time in summer and I just could not put it down. I think this is a fabulous, fun, just kind of globe-trotting mystery. And if you like that kind of Dan Brown kind of feel to your books, this is more literary than that. It's a little bit denser and the pacing is different, but I think you'll enjoy the 8 if you have read things like Dan Brown or that type of mystery. Definitely give this a read. I think Catherine Neville just wrote something at the time when this came out that nobody else had done before, and she did it in a really fabulous way. So this is a great book. Highly, highly recommend. And that wraps up my modern mysteries to beat the summer heat. I would love to chat with you down in the comment. Do any of these books sound good to you? Are you going to add them to your summer TBRs? And are there any modern summer mysteries that I didn't mention that you also love and want to recommend? Let us chat all things modern summer mysteries down in the comments below. And if you're here, but you don't have anything that you would like to add in the comments, but you'd like to let me know that you were here, well, let us leave some summery emojis again, because it is that time of year. So sunshine, beaches, popsicles, ice cream, whatever it is that screams summer to you, leave those. I love seeing them and knowing that you were here. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button and also the hype button on the YouTube mobile app. And if you're new here and you have not yet done so, I would love it if you would subscribe and join my cozy bookish community. Thank you all so much for being here. I've been enjoying having our discussions about all kinds of summer books, and it has been so much fun. My TBR has just exploded, so thank you all for that. As always, I'll be back with another video very soon, and until then, I wish you a good book and a warm cuppa. Bye!